everyone, Darren Hunter here with the Win Your Worth podcast show. Today I'm going to teach you how to do tenant exit fees, all right, and what sort of charges are normal as well. It's a no-brainer. Stay around for this podcast, of course. Listen to the end. It's not going to be long like some others, but it's really easy once you get around it. But there are some things that we have to undo in your head as well, that are stopping you from a mindset point of view that would stop you going ahead and doing that. Okay. Now, firstly, what is a tenant exit fee? Tenant exit fee is pretty simple to understand. So for example, in Australia, a final inspection fee is very, very normal, particularly in Western Australia. All right. It's normal, like charging a management fee. But as soon as you step outside of Western Australia, it changes. Very rarely do I come across the final inspection fee. But here's my point to you. You wouldn't leave out a leasing fee, would you? And that's all the work to get a tenant into a property. And we know with having to travel to the property 2 or 3 times, with all the travel time, to then get an application you're willing to work with, by then that's probably 3 hours worth with drive time and meeting the tenant at a property or whatever. That's already about 3 hours worth. Then it's getting an application you're okay to work with. Might take you an hour to do all the work to process it and to get to a yes or a no verdict. If it's a yes verdict, you then got to call the owner, call the tenant. Tenant's really excited, then send an email off to the tenant, get the agreement into the system, getting it already. Welcome pack if you're going to do that. Then you've got to get back in your car, do the ingoing inspection, all of that. That work all up, if you really, with a tenant induction, is anywhere up to 8 and even up to 12 hours, depending on what it is, where it is. There's a huge amount of work involved. You wouldn't not charge for that. If I said to you, why haven't you put that in your management fee? You'd say, Darren, you got rocks in your head. There is so much work that's done in that. And I've also been involved with creating procedures in the past, and I've written procedures and policies for everything that needs to be done in a rent roll. A complete procedure folder of everything that happens in the rent roll is anywhere up to 400 hours of all the policies, the procedures, the checklists, the letters, and the forms. About 400 hours. It's huge. And the most busiest procedure, the one that's the thickest when it comes to printing it off, is the letting. But there's one other that's a good second. Number 2 is the vacate procedure, right from when a tenant gives notice or you give notice to them. All of the work involved with that might be a phone call to the owner as well, a phone call to the tenant, getting it stuff sent off, then attending the property, doing the final inspection, all the travel time, doing all the hoo-ha if the tenant wants to challenge you on stuff, all the back and forth. If it's not ready, then you have to get the tradespeople in, all of that work there. Tenant wants to argue with everything, all of that stuff, lots of back and forth, checking, right, a lot of messing around, getting invoices back, chasing tradespeople, might have to go back to the property to double check work's been done correctly, all of those sort of things and all that hoo-ha, right to the bond refund. Why wouldn't you be charging for that as well? So let's just talk about mindset, because right now your mindset might be saying, but Darren, what's the management fee for it? Exactly. Why are you charging a leasing fee? Why aren't you charging that in your management fee? But Darren, it's because of this. Well, come on, understand, it's your mindset that's saying no right now. But it makes sense to charge for all of that work of the tenant vacating, doesn't it? All right. And if you're charging a final inspection, well, you're only charging for part of that process, right from whether you give notice to the tenant, they give notice, right through to bond refund. The final inspection is only a part of that process. Why not change it to tenant exit fee? Don't charge a final inspection anymore and charge a lot more, because you're covering a lot more work. All right. It just makes sense. All right. And so why does it have to be part of your management fee? It only has to be part of your management fee because you said so. All right. Change what you're thinking to be true. All righty. And let's, let's be profitable here. Let's get paid. You don't have to apologize for charging a leasing fee, do you? No, of course not. You don't have to charge for charging a tenant exit fee as well. All right. So at this point, you're thinking, Darren, I understand it. Yeah, it's a mindset. But Darren, so here's the next but that's coming. I know what you're thinking. But Darren, my rivals don't charge that fee. Well, you need to understand what we call the law of the main game. All right. So my book, the PM Fee Script Secrets, I go through 10 different fee laws about charging, all right, and about fees. One of those is called the law of the main game. Really easy to understand. Two owners are at a barbecue. They're having a chat about property management. One guy says, who's managing your property? He says, well, I'm with XYZ Real Estate. Oh, well, I'm with ABC. Fancy that. What are you getting charged? Well, I'm getting charged 8%. Oh, really? I'm getting charged 7%. Ha ha ha. But they didn't talk about any other fees, did they? Why? Because of the law of the main game. Now, here is a big mistake that people think in real estate, in property management. You think an owner is critical about your management fee and they focus on that, and you are correct. All right. But also, you think they're also critical and equally focused on the letting fee, and critical and equally focused on your marketing fee, and equally critically focused on your monthly admin fee and the other fees. No, they're not. They're just focused on the management fee. How do we know that to be true? Because when you're dealing with owners and they want to negotiate, remember, you're in real estate, therefore your fees are meant to be negotiated. All right, that's why they come at you. It's not because they don't care about a quality property manager. They want a quality property manager that's going to get them a quality tenant so they can stop having anxiety around their rent not being paid and the property being damaged. That is what's really going on. But they're simply negotiating, not because they're seeking a cheap price and they're looking for a cheap agent. No, it's just because it's just doing the dance. They just want to negotiate because that's what you do. You see, if they come to you and they trust you and they want you because they're anxious about not getting a quality tenant and they know you are the answer, and they pop the question about the fee, well, they're only just going through the motions. But you'll find if they want you, they like you, they're happy to pay your fees. So if you've gone and added a tenant exit fee on your fee stack, on your list, they likely don't even care because they don't know the fee market like you know the fee market. And you're saying, but Darren, my rivals all don't charge. Well, guess what? The owner doesn't know that. All right, so you don't have to go and educate them on that. At the end of the day, if they like you, they'll pay your fee if they want you because they believe you're the one that's going to give them a solution to the anxiety that they have. All right, they're gravitated towards you now. All right, if they simply ask for a discount, it's just part of the dance. You just got to be better at dancing. And therefore, you've got to be good at responding and understanding what's going on. That's why I wrote my book, PM Fee Scripts Secrets. Now, you can get the book. It's free if you haven't already got it. It's got practically any fee objection you're ever going to get thrown at you. The big ones, of course, but the other agent is cheaper. I think I've got about 10 different scripts for that one. You've got, but my Sydney property manager only charges X, but the other agent will get me a higher rent. And right down to, but why are you charging me a leasing fee? Why are you charging me a final inspection fee? Why are you charging me a routine inspection fee? And on and on and on. Every fee. I've given you a script. All right. Make sure you get the book. It's free. Just go to stopdiscountingfees.com, stopdiscountingfees.com, and you'll get the book with the scripts. Just get it. We've sold thousands of this book. It's one of our most popular books ever. Just get it. It's a really good handbook to live on your desk. All right. You'll be referring to it often, I promise you. And right at the back of the book, we've actually got 34 fees and fee packages charged across Australia, New Zealand, and the United States with suggested fees as well. But along the way, after writing this book, I've instituted the tenant exit fee. So you won't actually find that in the book, but you'll get the idea. What we're talking about when I rewrite the book, of course, the tenant exit fee will be in there. So understand, firstly, but Darren, what's the management fee for? Well, we could argue that around the leasing fee. It's just your head that says, but it's not the market that says. Now, many years ago, when actually the year 2000, 3rd of July, I started with an agency and their fees were so bad when I first started with them. I had a number of years before that in property management. And I decided from that point I'm charging back then a final inspection fee. No one was charging a final inspection fee. I'd never heard of one before. And the reason why I started charging one was because final inspections suck. That was it. And I thought, damn it, I want to charge for that. I was getting a commission as well of all income that was coming in, so I had an incentive to do it. Here is the thing. I started charging a final inspection fee. No one ever questioned it. Not once, not ever. Despite all my rivals not charging it, and never questioned it. All right, sorry, all owners never questioned it, and none of my rivals ever, once they knew I was charging it, ever started charging it themselves. It just made no difference. It's one of those fees that hangs off from the bottom. So if owners are going to get focused and critical on fees, we say the management fee is your red light. Okay, that's one they're most cautious about. If there's going to be an orange light, then it's possibly your letting fee. If they're going to be antsy over anything, it may be that. But the other stuff are the green lights. Okay, what we find when owners, they have to negotiate on something. If you find that they're now focusing on the monthly admin fee or something, it's usually one fee. So if they're going to get antsy, it might be on the monthly admin fee. It's not because they're questioning it, they're just simply questioning it for questioning's sake, because that's what you do. They wouldn't have questioned the cashier down at Woolworths or a supermarket over this price or that price. They don't do that. They don't go to McDonald's and say, well, I can actually get a better meal deal at Hungry Jack's or Burger King. They don't do that because you don't do it in those environments. But you do in real estate. You question fees because you're a real estate agent. Your fees aren't meant to be negotiable. All right, just be aware. It's just a negotiation game. You got to be better at negotiating than them. Okay. PM Fee Script Secrets will do that. It's written just for the game. Okay, so tenant exit fee. What should you be charging for that? So look, charge what you want, but this is commonly what I advise. So if your letting fee is 2 weeks rent, then charge 1 week's rent for a tenant exit fee, plus GST, depending on where you are. If it's you're charging a 1 week's letting fee, which is very common in New South Wales, Queensland, and in New Zealand. Can I just say unnecessarily common? I mean, there's no legislation that stops you, but everyone just charges a stupid 1 week's letting fee when there's so much work involved. You're losing money on it. But in any case, you might charge half a week's rent tenant exit fee. You may charge 1 week's rent tenant exit fee when you can easily justify it. If you've got a 1 week letting fee. At the end of the day, the work is very comparable, but there's more stress and more conflict involved possibly with the exit as well. So you could say, Mr. Owner, the complications in that tenant exit are huge. All right. So let's just find in here a script that's going to help you. I could rattle this off straight off, but I'll just use the one that's in the book. I just got to find the darn thing. I did have it before and I lost my place, so I do apologize. Here we go. So it's on page 151 of the book. Let's go through the final inspection script. And this is where an owner may say, look, why are you charging me this fee? I honestly think you're not going to get questioned. All right. But let's say you do. So, Mr. Smith, thanks for bringing this up. We are well aware of what our competitors are charging, and it's common that they don't charge this fee at all. We know that. However, when we have properties transferred to us from another agent because the property owner has been unhappy with their service, do you know what the common cause is of why they've brought it over? What makes them angry? It's usually a dispute about the condition of the property, particularly with what is missed after a tenant moves out. And when the bond or security deposit is refunded, there's no recourse with the tenant. See, we know once the bond's refunded, that's it. It's all over Red Rover. You've got no recourse on the tenant. It is finalised. They are now free to leave. And so the things commonly missed, the owner now has to pay for. So if the tenant is taken to task on the vacate condition issues and the agency hasn't done this final inspection thoroughly and detailed notes, comments and photos and even video, particularly if they don't have quality experience, then this vagueness and lack of detail can result in a big amount of money that cannot be claimed against the tenant. They are gone. They get off scot-free or cost-free and walk away, and you're left fighting the agency for it. And this is typically with an agent who doesn't value the final inspection process and the inspection report. And that's why you need to choose an agency like ours that highly values this process and charges a fee to give you a thorough service. But guys, how often do you have to justify charging a letting fee? Hey, you shouldn't have a problem. It's a no-brainer to justify a tenant exit with all of that crazy work that goes on. You and I know it's difficult, all right? You know that there's more stress involved. There's potentially more conflict involved than an ingoing letting process ever was. You're worth it, all right? So what's stopping you? Right now, it's only your mindset. This is one of those fees you can easily add on, but there's a lot of money involved to help you become and on the journey of being profitable, making sure your property management, your rent roll is profitable. Okay, now if you want to chat to me about fees, just go to getbetterfees.com. That puts you straight into my diary. Getbetterfees.com, easy to remember. The book, PM Fee Script Secrets, just go to stopdiscountingfees.com. Or just go to igtcentral.com. All of our books, all of our podcasts, our learning videos are all there. It's our free learning hub. Anyway, been a pleasure, guys. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed that, got something out of it. I always love teaching this stuff. Remember, it's a mindset game. The mindset, change your mindset, you change the money. All right, it's really easy. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next podcast show. Cheers.